Today, we're going to be reviewing the hiring process using Workday. And then also, as soon as we hire a new employee, we will trigger an API that we're going to go over as well, and create new users in Salesforce. At the same time, when that gets triggered, a message will be sent to Slack. In this case, it is Slack, but it could be anything. It could be ServiceNow, Jira, Sherwell, or BMC, or any other application that we want to send a notification to let them know that the new employee was hired. What you see here below is API request that we'll be using behind the scenes, created in Jitterbit, and the URL will be exposed in Workday and connected to a webhook to call this API and create a user real time. And then what you see here is the screenshot of the API that was created in Jitterbit. So this is the transaction, this particular API, and then the URL is going to be added to Workday. So we're going to switch to Workday now. And then here we're going to be using Jitterbit integration that is set up in the Workday dashboard. So you can see that we are looking at the worker profile here. And then we also have the candidate pre-hire list. And this is exactly what we're going to be doing. So we're going to hire Tom Wilson. Before we do that, I'm just going to quickly jump into Salesforce. So we don't have any users currently created in Salesforce. So as soon as we hire Tom Wilson, so we're going to click here and go into hire employee. We'll switch the organization to IT help desk department. This is the name, so we're going to click OK here. And here's where you put in all the information. So we're going to hire him today. The reason is going to be a new hire. And position, let's select help desk contingent. So there are two steps within this process. So as soon as we click OK and submit here, we'll get into this screen where we now have to make sure that the salary is entered. And that's just one of the requirements here. So if we click on open, just want to make sure that the salary information is present. Otherwise, we won't be able to submit it. So let's just enter the salary amount and 70. Okay. Now that it's added, we can submit and click on done. So now this should have been triggered a hire process. And because we have that URL in our in the webhook, that should also have been should have triggered the API that will create a user in Salesforce. So before we do that, let's finish here in Workday. I'm going to click on the inbox for Logan McNeil. We're logged in as Logan McNeil, and go into archive. And you can see that Tom Wilson was successfully hired. So the transaction went through, complete. So if we select it, you can see all the information here. And then we click on the process. You see that we've set up a few workflows here. And one of them, this integration process, if I just drill down into it, you see that there's reports and logs that you can open and review, and you can get the payload information. But if I click on the actual integration system, that will show us the URL, the API URL that was created in Jitterbit, and it was triggered as soon as that new employee was hired. And now if we go into Salesforce and click on refresh, we should see Tom Wilson user inserted into Salesforce. So now quickly, I just wanted to go back in here and recap, go back to integrations, go into our dashboard in Workday. And then you can see that Tom Wilson is now hired with today's date, 4/16, and he's showing up in the worker profile. So now going back to the Jitterbit Studio, just to kind of review what we've done here as far as the triggering of the API. So this is the API, the Workday API that was created. What this is doing, it takes the information from Workday, and as soon as that new worker is hired, it creates a transformation and inserts a user record into Salesforce. And then at the same time, the other thing we did not check yet was the Slack message. Now you see, because we have two processes set up in Workday, we got two records here, but Tom Wilson, we also got notification in Slack. So that's what this is right here. Now, if we switch back to the actual API, so that way you can see the URL and everything, this is our API manager component. That's where you would design all of the APIs based on the operations that you created in Jitterbit. So if I click on the API that we used to insert records into Salesforce, you can see that this is the project, the method, all in here. So this is the API, and this is the URL that was used that we saw in our Workday integration process. So going back here, this concludes the demo to show the hiring process. So what we did, we hired a new employee in Workday. We had an API that was URL was inserted into the process in Workday, and then the new user got created in Salesforce because that API got triggered. If you have any further questions, please contact Jitterbit. Thank you.